Wednesday, December 11th, the 17th day of the MoVE Holiday Fitness and Nutrition Challenge. We're trucking along. Today, we have 11 design qualities to take into consideration when creating your workout. Now, these aren't the only design considerations, but they're just 11 that we should look at and see and kind of just evaluate our current program and say, are these implemented? Are you thinking about these things when you write your workout? So we'll look at all 11. And this is not a program per se, but they're just qualities of different exercises and different movements that we're going to look at and kind of break down a little bit and say, once I look over the big scheme of my workout, are these qualities in there, or are they in there over the course of a week or at all? And I'll kind of define those and I'll kind of break them down. But these aren't the only ones, and these can be broken down even further and we can get even a little bit more in depth. But we're going to stay pretty basic today with the 11 design qualities. So the first one we'll look at would be power development. We look at power development by speed and by the mass of what we're doing. Now there's different types of power, like I said. I'm not going to break it down, but the main component of power that we're going to really look at and worry about is speed. Most often we'll find that in there. So the speed of what we're doing is usually pretty high when we're talking about power development. There's other components, but for today, we're just going to use something. We're going to try to use some speed. We're also going to look at a knee and hip dominant exercise. So I'd look at the hips, I'd look at the knees, and I would see both of those moving, okay? At one time, like a squat, like a lunge, okay? Some other things like that. We're going to break that down in knee and hip, one leg dominant and two leg dominant. So those are two different ones, so those create our first three. We're also going to look at hip dominant exercises, where we don't bend at the knee, we really just hinge at the hip. Okay, so commonly, traditionally would be an RDL, okay, that you'd be familiar with. You could do it on one leg. There's different exercises for all these qualities. I'm going to try to show you 11 different ones here. All right, so next we look upper body a little bit more, okay. We look at a vertical press. Okay, we look at a vertical pull, which we could look at a couple different ways. You could look at a pull-up, vertical pull, pulling, okay? And we could look at pressing, vertical pressing, okay? Next one we look at horizontally, okay? As you can see my body horizontally pressing, horizontally pulling, all right? So a press and a pull vertically, horizontally, all right? Moving on, I like to define this next one kind of in my terms as more vertical core instead of just core work, which I don't really like the term core work because I think it gets just battered and bashed and totally misused. So we're going to use vertical core, which is basically not just that our bodies are in a vertical position, but that our feet kind of are intact with the ground, but our hips and our trunk are all kind of moving and working together, and that's a true function of the core. But again, we won't go too deep today. All right. Next one we'll look at is we're going to look at our functional flexibility. All right. And then finally, we'll look at some locomotion. All right, so I'm going to take you through 11 exercises. All right, the challenge would be to do 11 repetitions. I'm not going to do them all for you, but I am going to show you all 11 qualities. I'm going to show you 11 exercises with those qualities to take into consideration for your workout. You can do this, but I wouldn't necessarily use them in this order. I would kind of break them up with pushing and pulling motions and kind of throw some upper body, lower body things in together. Okay, so first one exercise I'll show you real quick is a sandbell slam. If you don't have a sandbell, that's fine. You might have a medicine ball or something you can throw that you can just kind of throw it fast. All right. If you've got a wall, a cement wall, you can throw against the wall. There's lots of different power development exercises today. I'm just going to use a slam. I'll show you a couple slams. All right. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to hold it. All right. I'm going to load up my body. All right, so I got a little bit of mass here as well. So there's 20 pounds in this sandbell, and I want to create some speed. I want to do this exercise quickly, but I also want to create great power through the ground as I'm driving up and throwing back and down to the ground. So that's my power exercise. Really want to keep those at the top because that creates a lot of energy that I'm going to be using. So I want that towards the top so I can get a lot out of that. Okay, so that's a power development exercise. Again, lots of different ones. That's just one I chose, okay? Next one, knee and hip dominant, one leg, okay? I'm going to use a medicine ball here. I'm just going to hold it about chest height to start. I'm going to reach it out about knee height away from me on one leg. And you're going to see my knee and you're going to see my hip both working. Okay? So, knee and hip on one leg. Other examples would be lunges, static lunges. I could use some different reaches. Okay? Lots of different things we could do there with one leg. Box step-ups. All right? Next one, squat. I'm not going to show you a standard variety squat. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to go with a drop step squat. But it's knee and hip, and it's on two legs. I'll take a little bit of step. I'll squat. Come back home. I'll squat. So knee and hip on two legs with a little bit of step. All right, moving along, hip dominant exercise. So I really want to just hinge at the hip. I'll show you two different angles. So head and chest up. I'm going to hold it right here. Reach down, come back up. And again, you should see minimal movement at the knee, a slight bend, but I'm hinging at the hip. Okay? Hip dominant exercise. Moving on, a vertical press. I'm going to show you a little combo because with this I'm going to throw in a little curl and I'm going to alternate. So I'm going to go curl to press. All right, when I'm finished, I'll use my other arm. There's my vertical press. A little bit more integrated with curl. I use my Viper again. Again, you could use, if you don't have a Viper, you can use a straight bar, you can use dumbbells, lots of other implements, short bar, curl bar, those things as well. Okay? So, vertical pull, upright row. So, just gonna have a slight little bend. I'm gonna pull. Pulling up, pulling up. Maybe I'll change my grip, make it a little bit different. Now, I'm using my hips just a pinch, and again, I'm okay with that. Some people are very traditional, don't want to use the hips, they want to just, and that's fine too. There's different ways to do things. Okay, so that's a vertical pull. Moving on. Horizontal press. Okay, so I'm going to use a push-up. You could use a bench press. You could use an incline press. It'd be a little bit vertical, a little bit horizontal. Okay, but we'll just use a push-up for now. And I'm going to show you kind of two different things with this push-up. I'm going to integrate it a little bit more to throw a little bit of more tricep work in, make it a little bit tougher. Okay, so I'm going to start in my push-up position, nice and tall, okay? Now, from here, I'm going to break it down to my elbows, come back up, push up. All right? Push up. So, horizontal press. All right? Next one, a pull. You could go with a dumbbell row. All right? Kind of a bent over row, horizontal pull. All right? You could use, if you have a bar and a rack, you could kind of go with a kind of a jungle gym or a bar row. We're going to use jungle gyms, and that's the way we'll use our horizontal pull. So I'm going to step underneath. All right, nice and tall here, straightened out. All right, I'll pull myself up and back down, nice and controlled. Moving on, all right, vertical core. So again, this core, we're gonna try to keep our feet intact with the ground in some way, all right? And I'm gonna show you kind of three different things. I'm gonna just show you a chop. But it's important that the hips, this whole trunk is all working together, that the hips are involved with what we're doing, the shoulders are involved with what we're doing, and then we're gonna get some true core function in, okay? But it's not just exercises, it's a little bit more than that, okay? So I'll show you a chop. I'm gonna take the chop from low, kind of to high. So I'm gonna chop it up and down. All right, I'm gonna show you overhead side to side. I'm gonna go from hip, overhead to hip. And finally, I'm gonna go with a little bit of rotation. So a little bit of integrated vertical core. And again, there's a lot more there, and it's not just this midsection, front-looking abdominals and ab exercises. Okay, so next one we're going to go with functional flexibility. Functional flexibility is any mobility, any flexibility exercises you'd like to throw into your workout to give yourself a little bit of a break, to create some mobility as you're going through these strengthening exercises. So, for example, I like to throw in, if I'm going to go with a lot of legs, is I'm going to throw in some hip mobility. So, I'm going to drop my leg down to the ground and simply rock my hip down, and then I'm going to try to extend the front leg and go with hamstring. So hip and hamstring rockers, and I'd throw these in between some leg exercises, okay? And finally, locomotion, all right? I'm gonna go with a shuffle across and back just to show a little bit of motion, okay? So I'm gonna go shuffle down, I'll shuffle back, and then I'll throw some combinations in. So shuffle down, shuffle back, okay? I'm gonna shuffle, 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 turn and run, shuffle, 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 turn and run. All right, so those are 11 design qualities for your workout to take into consideration. Good luck with those.